Hello and welcome to the Evolve Pipedrive podcast. We talk all things Pipedrive, sales, apps, and Pipedrive marketplace. My name is Bruce Bignell. I'm the sales director here at Evolve. At Evolve, we're a technology consultancy that focus on getting more out of Pipedrive through consulting, training, and optimization. Today, it's my great pleasure to be joined by Simon Bates, the co-founder at Channelyze. Channelyze brings vendors, distributors, partners together in a single partnership relationship management platform, or PRM. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Simon today for a couple of reasons. One, because Simon is a serial entrepreneur, having founded multiple businesses over the last 25 years, including Byte Squared, which was acquired by Citrix in 2013. Shout out to my wife. My wife uses Citrix every day as a chartered building surveyor. Two, because Simon is building a platform that is a hot topic coming into 2023, and that is simplifying partner management. I look forward to going into more detail on this call. Plus, Channelyze is on the Pipedrive marketplace, ready for you to try out in the description below. Simon, welcome. Please can you introduce yourself and Channelyze to our audience.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. My name's Simon Bates. I'm co-founder, CEO at Channelyze. And as you mentioned, Channelyze is one in a series of startups that I've led. I've had a number of startups in my life. Actually, ever since I can remember, back in the early days, I've had one career that spanned 3 years that wasn't my own business from when I was young. And as you mentioned, my previous startup was a company called Byte Squared. And what we did there, we created an app for the iOS App Store and Android marketplace for editing Microsoft Office documents. So, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations. And there was nothing else really like that did that. We were effectively the first spreadsheet editor on the iOS store back in 2008. So we got in there pretty early, and we managed to grow our user base to around 12 million users.
Nice.
And that's when Citrix started partnering with us and a few other bigger companies. But we were eventually acquired by Citrix a few years ago. So yeah, for the last 18 months or so, I've been working at Channelyze. And yeah, Channelyze is a partner relationship management platform.
Yeah.
And brings together vendors, distributors, and partners. So, resellers, VARs, system integrators, referral partners. Brings all of those people together to grow their channel partnerships and collaborate around leads, deals, product learning, and marketing.
Nice. Yeah, it's such a hot topic. I just want to go back to something you mentioned there, just to kind of show. Again, if you're you're in a hot space at the moment now with partner relationship management, building an app for the App Store in 2008. I think this, if you are editing spreadsheets on your iOS or Android back then, was this at the time when the iPhone couldn't even cut, copy, and paste? I think in 2008. So you were really ahead of the game from at that standpoint.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, it was a challenge just to get files onto the device, actually. So, just before we did anything, we had to do sort of crazy things like create like a WebDAV server so that you could sort of connect to your phone from your Mac or PC over WebDAV, which is like some crazy protocol for being able to transfer files across there. And then that was the initial challenge before we even got on to how to edit those files. And they were crazy times, but it was fun. We used to go over to San Francisco every year to the Moscone Center, and it was like a real buzz around what was going on at that time. So it was really nice to be involved in it at that point.
Yeah, awesome. So back to present day, we've said PRM a couple of times now. Obviously, people that listen to the podcast or watch it are typically either on Pipedrive or they're considering the switch. But what the hell is a PRM, and why is it different to a CRM?
Well, I mean, I guess your your audience will be very familiar with Pipedrive and how it can manage their direct customers relationships.
Mm.
That's effectively a CRM, a customer relationship manager. Well, when vendors decide to sell their products through the channel instead of selling directly, then that's when they need a way to manage those partnerships and to provide portals for their partners to log in and register leads and close deals. And that's the basis of what we call partner relationship management. And it's essentially what Channelyze does.
Nice. So, who would you say should be thinking about this in 2023
Um,
or
well,
now? I mean, we're recording this in December of 2022, but who should be thinking about this now?
yeah, well, I think software vendors, for example, they all start off small and they all start off selling their products directly, maybe off their website or through stores and things. But there comes a point where you want to get into other countries, you want to sort of grow very quickly, and a very good way of doing that is to start partnering with value-added resellers or even referral partners these days. So if you're really wanting to be serious about getting your product into all parts of the world and accelerating its growth, then you need to start considering selling through the channel. So yeah, it's those sort of people that we try and target at a sort of early stage.
And who would you or what markets are covered there, right? So you mentioned they're trying to get into new markets. Are there any restrictions to what the platform can do there, or is it managed from one place and you can have different regions managed all within one platform?
Yeah, I mean it's cloud software, so there are sort of very little restrictions in terms of being able to get up and running. That there are always restrictions around people are nervous about where their data is stored. That goes for every cloud provider, and so our initial target has been not the US initially, actually, because the US is slightly different from Europe in the way that it has, distributors and partners are more sort of prevalent in Europe. Just because of the sort of the language side of things, there are lots of different languages, obviously, in Europe, and our target has been more Europe. So we've tended to ensure that our data is stored in EU West, so that's Ireland, and that gets around a lot of problems to do with GDPR and things like that. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I think it does. It's. I'm just trying to put my head in the mind of someone listening to this that might be a startup. Again, we know a lot of startups that the 5 people to 8 people that use Pipedrive as they're scaling up, right? So in those first 3 years of whether it's organic growth, and they get their first SDR, their first marketing team, driving more leads, and if they're based in New York, like is that something that they would lean on something like Channelyze in that instance? I was just trying to understand the kind of the scope that you guys could support.
Yeah, I mean, you mean if you've got like a sort of disparate company where they've got sort of people all over the world?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I mean, obviously, with Channelyze, you've got an account that you can create, and then you can start inviting other users within your organization to that account. And it's very good at being able to restrict which bits of the product are visible to certain people. So an SDR, for example, might have access to the sales side of the product. But then if you've got a marketing team, then you've got ways of being able to lock down just the sort of marketing features to the marketing team. So it's something that you can also have it such that if you've got a satellite office in I don't know, let's Australia, for example, separate from your business in the US, then you can have different partners leads coming into different different users. So, for example, the Australian employee will start getting the leads associated with the Australian partner. So you can cut it up that way. Yeah. So it's good to be able to redirect the business appropriately.
Nice. So just thinking about the partner relationships in general, right? What would you say makes a Channelyze platform different? Is it how it's being done, or some of the what pain is it that you're solving from a PRM system standpoint?
Yeah, I suppose I can explain this quite simply through an analogy.
Yeah,
So imagine Facebook was designed so that you couldn't find new friends, and instead, you could only invite the friends you knew to connect with you.
yeah,
And imagine if your friends had to log out of Facebook and then log back into a different account to start interacting with each different friend. Well, this is a bit how other partner relationship management products work today. So PRM solutions today are very vendor centric.
mm,
So typically the software is designed such that each vendor owns a siloed set of partners. Okay, and with this approach, the partner experience is poor. For those very reasons that they've got to sort of keep logging in and out of different accounts. And it's difficult for like vendors to be able to easily grow their partner base through those products because you've got these siloed partners. So we've taken a different approach and designed Channelyze with a different data topology, if you like, that's very much more network based. So it means that partners can more easily search for and find vendors that they want to work with right from within Channelyze. Um, but the same topology will enable Channelyze to evolve into different feature areas, and one of those is co-selling.
mm,
Um, so these days, vendors are realizing that to close more complex and lucrative deals, they
yeah,
need to start collaborating, working with not just sales partners, but other vendors even, and third-party solution providers. So where we're going with Channelyze is to be able to support those virtual groups of co-selling companies. We're not there yet, but I'm just trying to emphasize the subtle but important difference of the data topology that we use versus what PRM providers have traditionally used. So, breaking away from that siloed set of partners per vendor and moving into a more collaborative network of all types of partners. That's where we're heading.
yeah. And I was lucky enough to have we did recorded a demo just before this. We'll have links in the description below for that. But this is I like the when you mentioned co-selling there, you would auto enroll within that, right? So as a partner, you might say, yes, I want to get involved in this, and then your assets are automatically uploaded into a campaign. But I mean, but that all comes because the back end of your platform is built different, right? Which is
Yeah.
allowed you to do that, right? So I don't know where did that come from as a pain? What were you uncovering there? How did that come about?
Yeah. Well, that was my co-founder. Actually, he's been working in the channel, a large part of his life. It's not actually my background. So you know a little bit about my background, but he's from a very channel background, and that was his sort of big eureka moment when he realized that everyone was kind of doing it a little bit wrong, and it wasn't the way that people had their product structured wasn't set up to have sort of ecosystems of partners.
Mm,
It was set up to be very just vendor centric, very focused on the vendor, which doesn't lead to good partner experience. For all the reasons that I just mentioned.
yeah, yeah. I think it's just from what I saw before. I hadn't seen anything quite like that. So yeah, it was quite revolutionary in that regard. So just talking about where Pipedrive fits in this, right? So we touched upon PRM and CRM. If CRM is a customer relationship management, PRM's partner, how do they integrate? Like what is that link between the two?
Yeah, so the link between Channelyze and Pipedrive is really at a sort of synchronizing partners and leads and deals between the two. So um, typically, let's say you had a mix. Say you're a software vendor that had a mix of direct sales and partner-driven sales, so sales through the channel. Then you might be managing your direct sales through Pipedrive, but when you've got sort of channel sales coming through, those are going to be things that you would manage through a partner relationship management system. But you still want to reflect the sort of revenue that's coming through the channel alongside your direct revenue. So you still want to see what leads you've got in the system, what deals are closing, and how much revenue has closed. And so having that integration means that you can have access to that information from within Pipedrive.
And do do how do the systems integrate? What's their is it one way? Is it two way? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean so imagine that a deal comes in to Channelyze from a partner, and as a vendor, you can make a decision on whether you're going to accept that registered deal or not. If you accept it, then that deal gets transferred over to Pipedrive, and it will sort of store that as it will store the end user in Pipedrive as an organization and a person, but it will also create the deal in Pipedrive. So you've got exactly how much that deal is worth, etc. And it will associate that deal with the partner that provided that deal to you. So that's the sort of critical piece.
Yeah, no, I think that's the game changing elements, being able to push between the two there. So like we said, we did record a demo, but of that, so we'll have the links in the description below for you to check that out, and or as well as I don't go as quite as deep as maybe you would, so you can also get your own demo links in the description below. Simon, we did touch upon this briefly, but if we talk about your journey coming into Start Channelyze, what was that journey? How did you meet your co-founder, and what was the story with Channelyze coming to be?
Yeah. So I was actually living out in Malta, and this was just around the sort of lockdown time,
Yeah,
and I think I put my name on somewhere which said I'm happy to give sort of free advice to people in Malta that are
yeah,
looking to sort of do startups and things. And I actually met my co-founder through that, so we ended up just having a coffee. And lockdown wasn't quite the same as it was over here. It was a lot more relaxed out in Malta for a
do you
while.
remember the name of the platform where you found each other? Um, we can give a shout out to that tech platform or whatever it
Um,
might be.
no, I can't off the top of
That's
my
all right.
head.
It's quite Malta does have a quite nice, quite vibrant tech scene, especially in the gaming sector as well, right? But
Yeah, it's heavily in the gaming sector. They've sort of really tried to attract those companies into Malta, and they've done a good job of that.
mm,
There is an organisation that I was part of in Malta, which was called Silicon Valletta,
mm,
and yeah, I mean, with that, so that's actually a very good organisation, which they just started up. A group of guys started that up, but yeah, no, we just met for a coffee, and he showed me his idea, and I almost sort of walked away at first because I thought, well, that's just way too much work for me to
yeah,
get involved in, because at first he was saying, I want to get this product created. How would I do that? And then he said, well, no, actually, you've got experience with this. You could do that, but and I think if I'd have known, it's like all of these things, if you actually know what's ahead of you, you probably never do it.
yeah.
But it was a really good idea, and I sort of couldn't resist getting involved. So yeah,
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of this. So I always think there's a little bit of ignorance and arrogance, right? So you have to be ignorant enough to start it and arrogant enough to kind of keep going. Um, so there's a little bit of that. So, um, but no, I love that. So from
Yeah, I
people,
mean,
as we look to wrap up,
yeah.
the we'll just do some quick fire questions. They can be long form answers. You don't have to rush the answers at all. But from Channelyze, obviously it's 2021 when you started it. I think it was April 2021 to now. What's been your favourite use case that you've seen people use so far?
So I'm really pleased with the sort of marketing aspects of what we've done. So historically, traditionally, um, it's always been difficult for vendors to get partners involved in their marketing activities. It's just for some reason, the uptake is like really low. So I think traditionally what's happened is that vendors have created a set of assets and they've uploaded them for the partner to download them and start rebranding them and then creating their own campaigns and then putting them up through their own social channels or emails. And that's then the vendors have wanted to be able to try and get what leads did you guys get from that campaign, and it's been a real struggle to get that information back. So one thing that we're really proud of is what we've done is we've created a sort of seamless end-to-end marketing campaign that the vendor can set up and have automatically branded. And the partner, all they need to do is simply press one button to enroll in that campaign. So they can look at what posts are going to go out. They can see the sort of sequence of posts. They do need to just connect up to their own social channels, but then they can just look at whatever campaigns are available from that vendor and press enroll. And then that does two things. That basically sends out posts according to the sequence and starts collecting leads because a lot of those posts will be lead capture based type posts. And then those leads sit with the reseller until they're ready to register them with a vendor. And at any point, you can see what the stats are on those campaigns, and the vendor can do the same as well. So it's a really seamless way of being able to do through partner marketing from the vendor through their partners, and it's a great way for the vendor to be able to amplify their marketing voice.
Yeah, I love it. And then, what would you say for people just getting started with a PRM, and for those season pros? So the season pro answer might be going to try and do more co-marketing, co-selling, right? But
Yeah.
for those getting started, how should they think about this? And for those that want to excel, how should they think about using a platform?
Yeah, so my biggest bit of advice for vendors is to actually focus on the onboarding side of things. So the partner experience is the key, I think, when you're creating your channel program for the first time. You're wanting to make sure that you're giving the best experience to your partners. And I think the thing to remember is when you're onboarding partners that it's not a one-off event. So onboarding should start from the moment you decide to work with your partner and should continue throughout the lifetime of the partnership. My advice there is to spend some time configuring the onboarding templates that we have in Channelyze and ensure that your partner experience is good, your partners have the right knowledge to sell your products, and that effectively you're making the most out of each partnership.
Yeah. And then for the season pro, would you say lean on the co-marketing side of things, or would you recommend something else?
Yeah, I think we just touched on there, making sure that your partners are up to date with their product knowledge. That's critical for having them be able to do a good job of selling your products. So the learning management system in Channelyze really lets vendors be able to describe their product and teach their product in the way that they know how, and to be able to publish that to the vendors, and as part of the onboarding process even require them to take certain courses and show their understanding of the product. So that's a critical piece of working with partners. So that together with the marketing side of things, because there's a lot of marketing features in our PRM Channelyze that you won't necessarily find in other platforms.
Yeah. And then finally, would you have, obviously you've got a little bit of experience with Pipedrive. Do you have any Pipedrive feature requests that you would like to see within the platform, or anything you'd like to see taken out?
Yeah, actually, I'm hoping Pipedrive will create a category for partner relationship management in the Pipedrive marketplace because
Okay.
although I think Channelyze is perhaps the only PRM in the marketplace, I'm not 100% sure on that, but it was, I think, the last time I looked. Then, we've had to list under something like data management. There's
I
a
think
data.
I think you're actually listed under lead management.
Okay, maybe.
I think it's under lead management.
Yeah.
Um,
So Pipedrive marketing team, if you're listening, please add a partner relationship management category.
yeah,
That,
love it.
that
Okay.
would be that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Simon, this has been great chatting with you. Is there anything in particular you'd like to cover before we wrap up?
Just to mention, actually, that we're in the process of building a list of software vendors who are actively looking for partners. So, if any of your audience are value-added resellers, system integrators, or referral partners, and they want free exposure to those vendors, then they can just create a free Channelyze account and get access to that list. And I can give you that URL if that's going to be useful.
Yeah, we'll make sure Marco will put it all in the descriptions below.
All right, perfect. And incidentally,
URL.
just to mention that Channelyze is free for vendors for up to 5 partners, and it's totally free for VARs, system integrators, referral partners, etc.
Brilliant.
So, yeah,
Yeah, really nice. And yeah, that's a nice way to finish this. And obviously, we'll have somebody say, well, we can link to your own LinkedIn, so you can chat personally there. We'll have a link to try out the platform for yourself there, and yeah, we'll have make sure Marco links to what you just said there as well, Simon. But thank you for listening. You've been listening to the Evolve Pipedrive podcast. We talk all things Pipedrive, sales, apps, and Pipedrive marketplace. At Evolve, we're trying to help people who are on Pipedrive or considering the CRM switch get the most out of Pipedrive because we believe it's the easiest to use CRM out there because you know your business and we know Pipedrive. If you found this insightful, please consider liking, subscribing, or sharing with someone that you think will find this useful, and or drop us a note. We're always interested to find new guests, new requests, or anything like that. So please do send it in. Simon, once again, thank you very much.
thanks a lot, Bruce.